President of the European Court of Human Rights, Sheffer O'Leary, distinguished participants, I am delighted to be here today on what is my very first visit to Belgrade. And what a fantastic reason to be here, to join conversations on an issue that is a priority for the British government and one which is very close to my heart, the issue of ending violence against women and girls, ending gender-based violence. As the FCDO's Gender Envoy and Director for Education, Gender and Equality, I'm proud to be leading our work to drive urgent, concerted action on this agenda. First, I would like to thank our hosts at the AIRE Centre for organising the discussions today on accountability for gender-based violence within judicial systems. Too often, we see perpetrators of these crimes evade justice. It is unacceptable. I'm glad to be here today to signal the UK's unwavering support to work with partners to hold those who violate women and girls to account. And I want to start by reminding us as to why this matters so much. Gender-based violence is one of the most systemic human rights crises that we face today. It is experienced by 1 in every 3 women worldwide, and it casts a shadow over the lives of women and girls everywhere. Around the world, at least 5 women and girls are killed every hour. I will repeat that. Around the world, at least 5 women and girls are killed every hour because of their gender, most often at the hands of a partner or a relative. Growing threats such as cyber attacks and data leaks, online gender-based violence, paired with gender disinformation campaigns, are further limiting progress towards gender equality globally. In Europe, 74% of women have witnessed or experienced online violence. Such threats are used by malign actors to erode democratic values more broadly. The prevalence of gender-based violence increases even further in times of conflict and crises. We continue to hear alarming reports on the use of sexual violence in conflict around the world, including in Ukraine, with an estimated 20 to 30% of women affected. And so the focus of today's discussions on gender-based violence and femicide is a chilling reminder of the pernicious impacts of gender inequality in societies around the world, including the UK as well as across the Western Balkans. Standing up for the rights of women and girls is an urgent priority for the UK. And in March, our Foreign Secretary launched our international strategy on women and girls, outlining how we are putting women and girls at the heart of everything we do, putting women and girls at the heart of our foreign policy. We are focusing on policy priorities which can have the greatest impact on the lives of women and girls. And these are what we call our 3 E's: educating girls, empowering women, and ending gender-based violence. The strategy reflects our steadfast commitment to pushing against the attempted rollback on the rights of women and girls. It also reaffirms the central role that women and girls and women's rights organizations should play in transformative change. We know that women play a crucial role in long-standing peace and security and peace and prosperity of nations and communities. And earlier this year, we, the UK, we launched our 5th National Action Plan on Women, Peace and Security. This builds on a strategy released last November to prevent sexual violence in conflict, outlining how we will strengthen the global response to prevent this violence, promote justice, and support survivors. We are stepping up our ambition as the UK because the threats of gender equality are also increasing. We continue to see the impacts of climate change landing disproportionately on the shoulders of women and girls, for example. conflicts, including in Ethiopia, the DRC, more recently in Sudan, Ukraine, a number of countries across the world, have shown the profound impacts of war on women and girls. The UK we will continue to use our standing internationally to build a committed network of partners to push back against the concerted efforts we are seeing to erode the rights of women and girls. As a UK Special Envoy for Gender Equality, I have had the privilege of seeing firsthand the incredible work that we support globally. We know that success depends upon putting the needs, the voices, and rights of survivors at the heart of our approach. In Colombia, for example, I witnessed how survivor networks have spearheaded efforts to strengthen accountability and justice, ensuring that the relevant perspectives and voices are at the right table and at the right time. Last year, at the UK-hosted Preventing Sexual Violence in Conflict conference in London, the Foreign Secretary announced a new tech partnership with the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court. This aims to remove obstacles often experienced by survivors in the pursuit of justice. We are working together with survivors to create a virtual reality product which will support their access to and participation in justice mechanisms to hold perpetrators to account. Women and girls are at the heart of our support across the Western Balkans. For example, the UK's Regional Freedom and Resilience Programme includes work to improve the alignment of judiciaries on gender-based violence. And now, more than ever, regional cooperation across the board is critical. Here in Serbia, the UK is working with the government and UN Women to raise awareness of harassment and violence that women face in public and private spheres, and to ensure that women are involved in designing public spaces that are safe for all. We're also a leading force on responses to conflict-related sexual violence in Bosnia and Herzegovina. This has included funding work with religious leaders and civil society organizations to reduce the stigma that survivors often face. We have learned that the leadership of local women's rights organizations is vital for the effectiveness of approaches to tackle gender-based violence. And we're also a proud supporter of the United Nations Trust Fund to End Violence Against Women, which provides flexible funding to locally led women's rights organizations. Recognizing the heightened risk of violence experienced by lesbian, bisexual, and transgender women, the fund has supported LGBT survivors of domestic abuse in Albania, for example, to access services, including legal assistance and emergency shelter. The fund is also supporting work in Bosnia and Herzegovina to enhance gender sensitivity within the judicial system, to better serve the needs and rights of survivors. We have also been working to tackle sexual exploitation, abuse, and sexual harassment in the delivery of international aid in the Western Balkans. The UK is eager to do more to work with partners in the region and elsewhere to develop a global network for tackling sexual exploitation, abuse, and sexual harassment in development and in peacekeeping. Alongside improving access to justice, we are also pioneering evidence-based approaches to stop violence before it starts by addressing the root causes such as harmful social norms. And so the second phase of our flagship program, What Works to Prevent Violence Against Women and Girls, is scaling up proven approaches to prevent violence. And finally, we are harnessing our diplomatic influence across the world, across our 280 missions, and indeed our role at the UN Security Council, and in collaboration with NATO and the G7 partners as well, in order to drive this agenda. And so last year, we co-founded the Global Partnership for Action on Gender-Based Online Abuse and Harassment to better work with like-minded actors to stem the growing scourge of technology-facilitated gender-based violence around the world. And we're also stepping up efforts domestically in the UK. And so in 2021, the passing of the Domestic Abuse Act saw the establishment of a Domestic Abuse Commissioner to stand up for the rights of victims and survivors of domestic abuse in the UK. This has provided an independent voice to raise public awareness and to monitor the response of the judicial system and local authorities. We are also harnessing the power of technology to work for survivors in the UK. We have now completed the rollout of a pre-recorded cross-examination for survivors of sexual violence and modern slavery across all of our courts in England and Wales. This will spare survivors from having to testify at a live courtroom trial. And last year, the UK ratified the Istanbul Convention, considered to be the gold standard for combating violence against women and girls. We will continue to uphold the consensus on absolute criticality of protecting the rights of women and girls in the UK and everywhere. So, in wrapping up, to be clear, advancing gender equality and ending gender-based violence is not only the right thing to do, it is a fundamental building block of all healthy democracies. It brings freedom, it boosts prosperity and trade, and strengthens global security. And so whilst we are proud of our progress domestically and internationally, we must go further and faster to end impunity for crimes committed against women and girls. It's a hard task, it's difficult, it's a difficult road ahead, but we know it is possible. The UK will play its part with others, uniting the weight of our development and diplomacy to defend the rights of women and girls everywhere they are threatened. This is why opportunities like today to learn from one another on best practice across different contexts are so important for our collective progress. And so I'm looking forward to learning from your deep knowledge and expertise to guide this work to move us forward, a future where every girl and every woman everywhere lives free from violence. Thank you.